two spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs.
Top 13 disturbing horror movies that are banned in many countries. Have you ever wondered what it takes for a movie to get banned? Well, when it comes to horror movies, it is a given thing that creators will push boundaries to explore the unexplored. And even though the United States of America has been very generous with the level of expression allowed in media, there are many countries which are not so liberal in which films have to meet certain criteria. Brace yourselves for today's video as we take you through 13 of the most disturbing horror movies ever. Trust us when we say that these flicks are so brutal that they're banned in many countries. We highly recommend that you watch them, but only at your own risk. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
We do names.
Hostel Part 2, 2007. Beguiled by a beautiful European woman, 3 American art students in Rome take a detour and join her on a lavish spa vacation in Slovakia. This turns into a living nightmare as the 3 are sold off to the highest bidders. The only thing that these rich clients desire is to torture and kill the girls slowly. Eli Roth's 2007 horror flick is not for the faint of heart. Remember the scene where Lorna wakes up hanging upside down and naked above a bathtub? And then we get to witness a woman entering the room who later slashes Lorna with a scythe in order to bathe in her blood? The character of Mrs. Bathory happens to be based on a real woman. Elizabeth Bathory was also known as the Blood Countess of Hungary, who terrorized the local area. Back in between the late 15 and 1600s, she is reported to have slayed more than 600 young female maids and farm workers throughout her life. If we go by the legend, she used to bathe in the blood of virgins in an effort to hold on to her beauty. Full credits to Roth for his thorough research and the display of gore in the movie. With elements of torture, murder, and decapitation on show, it's pretty clear why Hostel Part 2 has been banned in countries like New Zealand, Ukraine, and Germany amongst others. We can only recommend this level of barbarity and gore to hardcore fans of the genre, and also to those who like the prequel.
Nun zeig mal.
NECromantic, 1987. The far from ordinary couple, Rob and Betty, share a joint predilection for all things dead and grisly. Rob, who happens to work for a company that removes dead bodies from public areas and mostly cleans up after traffic accidents, brings home a full corpse for him and his wife to enjoy sexually. However, he soon realizes that his wife prefers Mr. Dead to his own breathing body. As shocking as it might be, Jörg Buttgereit's 1987 West German horror exploitation film did become a cult movie over the years because of the flick's transgressive subject matter, exploring necrophilia in an audacious and graphic manner. Witnessing the couple during a rather disgusting, rotten threesome is certainly something that will make you want to puke your guts out. The movie is extreme. Conventional fans of horror might not be okay with particular scenes, such as the suicide masturbation sequence, a section where a real rabbit gets killed and skinned, the segment which features a brutal beheading of the old cemetery gardener, and even the autopsy scene for that matter. But then, these are precisely the highlights of the movie. The sanity of the film's characters is definitely in question, and in no way can this movie be categorized as a typical horror flick. NECromantic is currently banned in Iceland, Norway, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Singapore, and some parts in Canada. So if you happen to be someone who is into mindless gore, this one may be for you. But do not grumble later that we didn't warn you.
Anna? Anna, where are you?
Maniac, 2012. Frank Zito is a schizophrenic who has taken over his family's mannequin restoration business following the recent death of his mother. As a child, Frank was abused by his mother, and that led him to become a deranged serial killer with a strange penchant for scalps. Things take an interesting turn when Frank meets a French photographer, Anna, who simply loves his work, and the two become friends. With the development of their bond, Frank's obsession elevates, and soon his bottled-up desires come to the surface. Frank Calfoun's Maniac is a remake of the 1980s film of the same name, and fans who have had the chance to see his psychological slasher flick regard it as one of the best, most well-made remakes ever.
Calm down. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Having said that, the film is so violent that it literally makes one want to run away. The kills in this movie are so realistic and brilliantly shot, an aspect which makes this movie disturbing right from the beginning till the end. Elijah Wood is absolutely superb as Frank Zito, truly the cement that holds it all together. As you probe deeper in the movie, you will see how the film takes you inside the character's exceedingly distressing state of mind and psychology. For those of you who are wondering where the movie has been banned, New Zealand tops the list. So if you have got the nerves for it, gear yourselves up to be shocked and stunned at the same time.
I exorcise the imbecile spirits in the name of Almighty God to depart from this man.
The Devils, 1971. Cardinal Richelieu is planning to take over the 17th century France, supported by his power-hungry entourage. But in order to do that, they need to get rid of the Roman Catholic priest, Father Urbain Grandier, who runs the fortified town of Loudun, which is preventing Richelieu from exercising full control. All hell breaks loose when the father is accused of witchcraft by a sexually repressed nun, one who is obsessed with him.
I've wronged an innocent man, Father.
This 1971 British historical drama film, directed, produced, and written by the late Ken Russell, put a spotlight on the dark history of the Catholic Church, creating one of the most disturbing films of all time. It goes without saying that the movie was flooded with immense controversy and hostility as a result of its vivid graphical contents and its cavalier display of blasphemy. It is really hard to forget a few scenes like the one where the brainwashed nuns start stripping off and indulging themselves in a mass orgy.
I'm free.
You are most welcome, my child.
Of course, this leads to perhaps the most controversial moment in the film, when a statue of Christ is pulled down from the walls of the chapel, only to be used by the nuns as a sexual toy. It won't surprise you to learn that the film was not only banned in Italy, but the Italian government also threatened lead actors Vanessa Redgrave and the late Oliver Reed with a 3-year prison sentence if they ever set foot in the country. The Devils is not for everyone. The movie is categorically for an open-minded audience with a taste for the unusual.
So go home and fuck Mum now, you demented dog.
The Human Centipede 2, 2011. Martin Lomax is a short, overweight, asthmatic, mentally challenged Englishman who becomes obsessed with the first Human Centipede film. Martin seems blown away by the work of the fictional deranged German surgeon Joseph Heider and eventually decides to make his own centipede, this time consisting of 12 people. The Human Centipede 2 is an exploitation horror film written, directed, and co-produced by the Dutch filmmaker, writer, and actor Tom Six. While there is no denying that the first film attained its cult status as a result of its avant-garde premise, the sequel takes things to a whole new level. This movie is beyond gross, beyond gory, and is so extreme that it was originally denied classification in the United Kingdom. So much that the affiliates of the British Board of Film Classification went to the extent of saying that no amount of cuts could make this film acceptable enough to be displayed or vended. You may not know this, but Six had initially shot the entire movie in color, but was eventually told to change the format to black and white because the content was just too grisly. No wonder the movie was not allowed to be screened in New Zealand. The Human Centipede 2 requires a humongous warning sign before one even thinks of watching it. Try reading the plot of the film first. Also, a word of caution to those who do not like sick movies. This flick is definitely not for you. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Harold Monroe is an anthropologist at the New York University who agrees to lead a rescue mission and travel to the Amazon rainforest in the hopes of finding a missing American film crew. After quite a few days of trekking through the jungle, the rescue team encounters two tribes, the Yakumo and the Yanomamo tribe. While staying with the latter tribe, Monroe finds the skeletal remains of the missing crew and reels of their underdeveloped film. It is only upon returning back to New York that Monroe not only watches the disturbing footage, but also discovers the fate of the missing team.
No, wait! I know what I'm doing!
This 1980 Italian cannibal film, directed by Ruggero Deodato, did have its premiere in Milan. 10 days later, the film was confiscated by the Italian courts. But that is not all. Deodato was arrested, charged with vulgarity and murder. It was only after the director could prove his innocence that the murder charges were dropped. After all, everything about the movie seems so real, from the maggoty skeleton to the tribal rape and even to the people who have their legs chopped off. The film also displays genuine footage of the death of animals, and that is precisely what led to the movie being banned not only in Italy, but also in Australia, Norway, Finland, and New Zealand. Cannibal Holocaust is conclusively not for the queasy or the easily offended. Now that you have been warned, do watch this movie at your own risk. The Evil Dead, 1981. 5 university students take some time off from their busy schedules to spend a peaceful holiday at an isolated cabin in rural Tennessee. That is where they chance upon the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, along with the tape recorder. Once the incantations are read out loud, the group of friends find themselves completely helpless against an extremely powerful evil force that starts taking them down one after the other.
Jack of clubs!
This popular American supernatural horror film, written and directed by Sam Raimi, is truly a work of art. Full credit to Raimi for creating such a spectacular and spooky world that is still hard to watch. His camera work is sure to leave you petrified, biting those nails off in suspense of what's in store. The unrestrained gore and violence on display can be quite revolting at times. Who could have ever imagined a woman getting raped by trees? This scene in particular is highly unsettling and creepy. Also, when the group gets possessed and they turn into flesh-eating demons, the blood does not just ooze out, it literally splashes. You have to see it to believe it. It should not come as a shock to you that The Evil Dead was banned in many countries, including Singapore, Ukraine, and Finland. Saw 6, 2009. Following the death of FBI agent Peter Strom, Hoffman does everything in his power to frame Strom. Meanwhile, insurance executive William Easton, the man responsible for denying John Kramer's health insurance, has been brought to play the deadly game as part of Jigsaw's grand plan, and he must decide which of his colleagues will live or die.
Hello, William.
Oh, jeez.
You've probably been wondering when we would see each other again.
The 6th installment in the Saw film franchise was briefly restricted in Spain and also given the Película X rating, something that is typically reserved for pornography. Director Kevin Greutert's Saw 6 was not only banned in Thailand, but the sale and distribution of the film was forbidden there.
Let the game begin.
The traps in the movie are gory as hell, and the scenes are bound to send a shiver down your spine. Given that the first film started off as an interesting psychological thriller, Saw 6 took things a little too far with all the blood and gore. David A. Armstrong's cinematography work in the movie deserves a definite mention, as it inevitably brings out the excitement and the violence. We strongly recommend that you give this a shot. You will not be disappointed, and that's for sure.
Riley, step aside.
No, you put that thing away.
Riley, come on, step aside.
I said put it away.
Land of the Dead, 2005. Zombies have taken over the world, and the last remnants of the human race have built a walled city in order to protect themselves and keep the undead out. But all the while, as an army of the dead is evolving outside the city walls, anarchy is on the rise inside. With the fate of the city at stake, a team of toughened armed forces is called into action to protect the living from the dead. This 2005 post-apocalyptic horror flick, directed and written by the legendary George A. Romero, is bound to shock its viewers with its stupendous amounts of gore. Featured here are headshots, zombies biting people and ripping off their flesh, and of course, occasional decapitations. The film takes elements of violence to a different level. There are a few movies, especially horror ones, that are best left alone. We consider Land of the Dead as one of them, and it is totally up to you whether you would like to watch it or pass. The choice is yours. Also, the movie has a current IMDb rating of 6.2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. On the way to their grandfather's potentially vandalized grave in Texas, Sally Hardesty and her paraplegic brother Franklin, along with 3 of their friends, happen to cross their paths with a family of cannibalistic psychopaths and are soon plunged into a never-ending nightmare. When Tobe Hooper's slasher film was released back in 1974, it caused a literal commotion thanks to the level of violence the film had on display. Believe us when we tell you that at different points in time, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was actually banned in countries like Norway, Iceland, France, Finland, Brazil, Chile, Sweden, Ukraine, and Singapore, amongst many others. The movie is remorselessly dark, sadistic, and traumatizing to the extent that it can easily be regarded as a living nightmare. As far as the disturbing elements go, the film is unsettling right from the beginning up until the climactic dinner scene. The whirling dance of Leatherface in the end is still capable of driving you to the edge of your seat. If you are someone who'd like to unravel the definition of fear, then you should absolutely give this a shot. But rest assured that your dreams will, at least for a while, be haunted by the unbearable sound of the chainsaw.
It's just not good enough!
I Spit on Your Grave, 2010. Novelist Jennifer Hills escapes the busy city life of New York to Louisiana. Renting an isolated lakeside cabin, she has plans of working on her next book in privacy. But 2 days later, she is brutally gang-raped by a group of misogynistic perverts consisting of the 4 local bigots, the sheriff, and a handyman. However, Jennifer returns later with vengeance on her mind and has horrifying plans for each of them.
Tried to help me.
Really did.
Stephen R. Monroe's 2010 American rape and revenge horror film is a modern remake of the controversial 1978 cult movie of the same name, although that version was originally titled Day of the Woman. Core elements such as rape, brutal torture, and murder feature prominently in this low-budget exploitation horror flick, causing it to be banned in Ireland. The film challenges everything you thought you knew about humanity, righteousness, vehemence, and payback.
How's it going?
The movie is bound to not only traumatize, but also horrify and spark strong reactions amongst its viewers. With a running time of 108 minutes, you are subjected to constant pure abuse, and there are plenty of scenes that are pretty hard to sit through. Certainly not for everyone, and quite a tough watch. Give this a shot at your own risk.
Lick me! Lick me!
The Exorcist, 1973. Actress Chris McNeil relocates to Georgetown with her 12-year-old daughter Reagan, where she is shooting a movie. After a while, Reagan starts acting weird, swearing like a sailor and displaying abnormal physical strength. Eventually, her sickness is beyond the reach of a doctor or even a psychiatrist, and she has to be tied to her bed to keep her in control. The movie is about her mother's efforts to save her daughter through an exorcism that is conducted by 2 Roman Catholic priests.
Cock up her ass, you motherfucking worthless cocksucker.
Be silent!
William Friedkin's 1973 American supernatural horror flick was banned in the United Kingdom, as was its original trailer. The original teaser trailer that has images of the white-faced demon flashing in and out of darkness was actually banned in many theaters purely because it was too scary. Believe us when we tell you that the film was showcased on British television for the first time ever in the year 2001, literally 30 years after its original theatrical release. There's hardly any horror movie out there that has not been inspired by The Exorcist in some way or the other.
Apart from the servant of God. It's the power.
You have this intense, terrifying vibe creeping up on you right from the beginning, which lasts until the end credits. No wonder viewers got sick watching the movie. It's true that some even ran out of the movie hall, and there were also reports of a few audience members having been hospitalized. That's the kind of effect Friedkin's movie had on the viewers. A true classic in every sense. Watch this if you get the chance. It's a terrifying piece of work that just cannot be missed out on. Possession, 1981. The narrative of this movie revolves around the relationship between an international spy and his wife. The latter begins to display exceedingly unsettling behavior after asking the spy for a divorce. What is initially thought of as infidelity soon gives way to something far more ominous.
Check, 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 check!
Why did you leave last night?
Leave me alone!
But you said you went to France.
This 1981 psychological horror drama, directed and co-written by the late Polish filmmaker Andrzej Zulawski, might start off as a conventional flick, but swiftly transfigures into something that is both frightening and supernatural. Not only did this movie have a limited theatrical run in the United Kingdom before being banned over its fierce content for a decade, but Possession also had close to 40 minutes cut from the US version because of the highly disturbing nature of the work. The film had such an effect on Isabelle Adjani, the French actress who plays the lead role of Anna, that not only did it take her a long time to get over the character, but the actress also never really took on a similar role again. The famous underground menstruation scene in the movie is quite capable of giving the audience a major panic attack. Possession happens to be one hell of a film, but only if you are prepared for it. Do give this a shot if you have not, and let us know your thoughts on it. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.